Hi, this is Brian Kim. I want to share with you this case of a patient with a small eye and a deep set orbit. And you're going to see exposed lashes and BSS pooling because of this deep set orbit. So my friend and colleague Michael Posner let me know about this cool Tegaderm hack on iConnect. And so I'm going to share with you this Tegaderm hack and how it not only helps you with isolating the exposed eyelashes, but it also helps to alleviate the pooling of the BSS in this deep set eye. And you can see this is the eye, and this is a standard Lieberman speculum. You can see how stretched out the lids are. You can see the lateral canthus is really stretched, and it's really just not good for this small eye with a deep set orbit. And so this is the asymmetric speculum that I'm also developed with Epsilon, and I would track with this one as well. And it's a similar thing. It's a little bit too tight. Look at the lateral canthus. It's so stretched out and really not maybe the best for this particular case. And another thing you'll notice is look at all the pooling. Look at all that fluid, and the eye is literally sitting in the deep end of the pool, right? It's just a large pool of water on the eye. And so now this is the narrow wire speculum from Epsilon. And I'm going to go ahead and try to, you saw what I did, I moved it nasally. So I moved the speculum slightly nasally. I still have the stretching of the lateral canthus, but I feel like because this is overall smaller, this might be better for this case. So I use a corneal marker, which will help me to center and size the rhexis. But pay attention to all this water. There's so much water in this eye. And why is that? It's because the lid is stretched out so much, it's almost creating a pocket. It's creating a pocket for that fluid to stay in the eye. Not ideal when you're trying to do cataract surgery. I make my paracentesis incision first on the right side and then the left side, making sure I'm parallel to iris plane, which creates a nice corneal shelf, which will allow me to achieve a self-sealing incision. On top of that, this patient has a strong Bell's reflex. And so when I flush the eye with water, the patient squeezes. This is intracameral epinephrine. But again, look at all the pooling of the water, and really not the ideal situation to do cataract surgery. Dispersive viscoelastic to coat the cornea and to flatten the anterior capsule. But look at all that pooling. I had to use my finger to yank down and pull down on the lateral canthal area in order to get that water out. And this is a triplanar corneal incision. I make a vertical groove, place the blade into the deep part of the groove, tunnel, and then I enter. So again, I don't want to be yanking on the lateral canthal area because of the pooling. And not to mention, there's quite a bit of lashes that are exposed now. Again, this patient has a small eye. And so I'm trying to trim the lashes here. I'm asking my staff to flush the eye as well. And then I think to myself, I'm going to use Michael Posner's hack, the Tegaderm hack. So you can see here, this patient already has the Tegaderm on the eye, on the upper and lower lid, isolating the lashes, but on the lateral side of the upper lid, you can see some exposed lashes. So I'm grabbing the leftover piece of the tape, and you can see the part that has the writing on it. That's actually an adhesive as well. So I'm going to take that. I actually grabbed it from the pocket that was holding all the BSS water. I'm drying the surface of the eye where the lashes are. Of course, you need to have it dry in order for the tape to work. So I'm using the leftover part of the Tegaderm, not the part that you're supposed to use, but on the other side, there's a thin strip with the writing on it. And I'm going to place it right over the lashes, just like that. So in that way, you didn't have to open up another Tegaderm. You didn't have to waste it. But more importantly, you can see that the texture of that tape is different from the Tegaderm. The Tegaderm is more like plastic, and this is more like a paper material. And so what's interesting about it, not only is it good at isolating the lashes, you're going to see it helps to wick away the fluid. So I don't have as much pooling throughout the case. So I use the micro rhexis forceps to puncture the center and pull down. and I grab the right side of the tear. I have the viscoelastic cannula in my paracentesis incision to control the eye, but also to push more viscoelastic if I need to. I'm going around circumferentially. I'm trying to use the corneal mark that I made, which will help me to hopefully center and size the rexus well. I have very good control, very little OVD egress, and I'm going around and I'm able to finish off the rexus with excellent control. And then she goes ahead and flushes the surface, and I burp some viscoelastic out. And then this is the viscoelastic for the corneal surface. Again, this coats the corneal surface so my technician doesn't have to continue to drip BSS. And this is the capsule fornix hydrodissection technique. I place the cannula under the rexus edge contra-incisionally, point the tip down. In this case, there was a little bit of bubble, so I'm going to take that bubble out, come out, and just flush it some more. Go back in, point the tip down once again. I'm able to finish off the propagation of the hydrodissection wave, lift the lens up, tilting it, decompressing the bag, and the lens begins to spin. Taking the bubbles out. So far it's hard to appreciate about the pooling, like I said, but it's amazing now that I have that extra Tegaderm, that paper part of the Tegaderm, how I have great isolation of the lashes. I didn't have to open up another Tegaderm, which costs money for the surgery center. And then as I'm doing the case, lo and behold, it really reduces the pooling. It's amazing. I take the chopper out under the rexus edge contra-incisionally, the phaco-tip vertically sub-incisionally, and then fracturing the lens in half. That's double chop. I place the chopper under the right heminucleus, hooking the peripheral lens, pulling it centrally toward the phaco-tip, and fracturing the right heminucleus in half, and that is the cross chop. Using some vacuum in the chopper to go ahead and disassemble that first quadrant and then emulsify the lens pieces. Placing the chopper around the second quadrant, hooking the peripheral lens, crushing it between the phaco-tip and the chopper, and that is another cross chop maneuver to emulsify that second quadrant. Turning the second heminucleus in front of me, placing the chopper around the lens, holding the phaco-tip deep, and then crushing and flanking the lens and crushing the chopper against the phaco-tip like a chopping block. And then using some vacuum to grab the pieces, crushing the lens between the instruments, and then emulsifying the lens pieces. Lifting that last quadrant up, which is attached to the epinucleus, and then just very carefully using little bursts of ultrasonic energy, but mainly really just vacuum to remove the epinuclear piece. But pay attention to the fact that, again, excellent lash isolation in that lateral canthal area. And again, look at the pooling. There's no pooling anymore. I mean, I find that amazing that paper is helping to wick away that BSS. So I take the chopper out, push BSS in, take the phaco-tip out, and I go in with the INA handpiece. I start to peel from anterior to posterior into the subincisional area first, going around circumferentially. Switching to polish mode, polishing the posterior capsule, and then polishing under the rexus edge of the lens epithelial cells. You can see a nice clean bag now. So fairly soft lens, nice pupil size. The biggest issue with this case was the small eye and the deep set orbit. Again, you saw the strong Bell's reflex. You saw the lashes that were exposed. I'm going to pulse BSS into the subincisional capsule fornix, which was clean in this case. Inject some cohesive viscoelastic to fill the bag, turn off the infusion, and fill the bag with cohesive viscoelastic. And then I'm going to sweep with the sweeper, using the cannula to control the eye because this eye tends to go up. This is the right eye. This patient has a strong Bell's reflex. I use a cannula to hold it so it doesn't roll all the way up. So that's a two-handed maneuver. And then when I switch to sweep the right side, which goes to the incision on the left side here, of course, that automatically controls the Bell's reflex by having the instrument in the left side paracentesis incision. And this is the LI61AO lens. I like to control the eye and push some viscoelastic in to inflate the bag. And this is with the EZ24 injector. You saw the leading haptic came out nice and straight, the optic came out straight, and then you can re-engage the trailing haptic by pulling the plunger back, and then it reposited right into the bag. Go in with irrigation off, activate irrigation, getting underneath the lens, removing all the viscoelastic from within the bag, polishing under the rexus edge, and then I'll remove the viscoelastic from the anterior chamber and I'll hydrate my incisions. So again, this is a patient with a deep set eye, small eye. I tried to use the standard Lieberman speculum. You saw how much the lateral canthus was stretched out. Again, this is because the eye was small. You know, the horizontal dimension from canthus to canthus was small in this eye. And then on top of that, this patient had a deep set eye. And so when I stretch the lid speculum, all the water was pooling in the eye. And so I switched to the asymmetric speculum. That was not that great. And then I switched to the narrow wire speculum, which worked a little bit better, but obviously it's still stretching the lid. The vertical fissure is open nicely, but because of that, it was causing a pooling effect. And then on top of that, I had lashes that were exposed. So I went ahead and dried the surface of the eye. And then I took the leftover sticky adhesive. I was able to take that part, isolate the lashes that were in the lateral canthal area on the upper lid. And then not only that, because of the paper nature of that Tegaderm tape, it was able to wick away and prevent the pooling of the water, the BSS, on the surface of the eye during the surgery. And so I hydrate my incisions. This is the end of the case. A beautiful looking eyeball, excellent isolation of the lashes. And I wasn't fighting the BSS pooling and working in this pool of water throughout the entire case. I do think it also helped that I coated the cornea with the viscoelastic, which also helped protect me from having a weird visualization from the water interfacing on the cornea. So next time you have lashes that are exposed, or if you have a deep set eye, think about using the paper part, the leftover part of the Tegaderm, and use that as another hack to save yourself time and money, so that you can proceed with the surgery without any additional fuss. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I thank you for your attention.